The Creepshow series is finally upon us, and man, it is about time that we get a follow-up to the incredible duology from the 80s. Man, if only they ever made a third film in this series, but they never did, and that's alright, because if they did, it could have turned out really, really shitty. It could have been an absolute abomination on this earth. But good thing they never made that. So, moving on. This is something that I was really looking forward to, man. You know, when Shudder announced this and they were like, "Oh, Greg Nicotero's doing it," and blah blah. I was like, "Wow, Shudder's really kicking ass, man." Last year they put out the amazing Terrified. This year they've released the incredible One Cut of the Dead and Tigers Are Not Afraid. So they've been killing it on original stuff. Not that I liked Hell House LLC Part 3, Lake of Fire all that much, but hey, it was pretty cool that they put an end cap to the trilogy there and hinted at that television series or whatever that they were going to do, the Abaddon tapes or something. So Shudder is doing a lot of really cool things, and bringing Creepshow back from the dead was really freaking exciting. And I was like, all right, hell yeah. So before I get into spoilers here, because I'm going to talk spoilers about the episodes, because why the hell not? That's what's fun about it. But just to give you a quick little yay or nay, if you don't have Shudder yet, you absolutely should. As a horror fan, I just don't see any reason you shouldn't have it. I think they do amazing things. And it's just good to support good horror. And this is an app that really does try to give you the best that it possibly can. And for as cheap as it is, I'm not freaking, sponsored by them or anything. I don't get shit for you going and checking them out. I don't have any codes to give you or anything. Like, I just personally think it's a great app, and I think that if you don't have it, then that's a shame, because it's great, man. And they put a lot of cool stuff on there, and this is going to be one of them. Did I like this? Yes, I did. Did I love this? No, I didn't, but I really liked it. There were some things kind of bogging it down. We'll get into that, but love to see Tobin Bell here. John Kramer or Jigsaw from the Saw franchise. Spoilers for the original Saw if you haven't seen it. What the hell you been doing with your life if you haven't seen that by now? We got Adrienne Barbeau in here, which is really cool to see. Obviously a callback to the original Creepshow, where she played Billy in the episode, or the segment, The Crate. You've got Gus from Breaking Bad, and these guys all appear in this first episode, which is a Stephen King adaptation called The Gray Matter. So in every episode, there are 2 segments in each episode. So the episodes, even though they're one by one, you think, oh, that's what makes it an anthology. The episodes themselves are actually anthologies because you get multiple stories. Which I did not know going into it. And the episode is about 43 minutes long. So each episode's like 20 minutes. So instead of having just one 20-minute episode, you get 2 segments in a 40-something minute episode. So I think I saw that there was going to be 13 episodes. So you get like 26 stories, if that's true, which is exciting. And as I said, this first episode is an adaptation of Stephen King. In the second episode, we got the little girl who plays Judith Grimes in the Walking Dead series here, the 6 years later. If you're not following The Walking Dead, you'll have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. But if you do, you know. She's also young Rey in The Force Awakens, which is really, really cool to me. Seeing as how I just got back from Disneyland, where I got to go see Galaxy's Edge, which is freaking amazing. If you're a Star Wars fan and you haven't been there, wow. It's something else, man. It's definitely every Star Wars geek's wet dream. It's wild. It's just, wow, what an attention to detail. But we're not here to talk about Star Wars. We're here to talk about this episode. So yeah, I think that it is pretty damn cool. Now, I did think that the second story was much better as far as a story goes than the first. The first is fairly simplistic, which I find to be kind of ironic, since the first one is actually written not only by the writer, the creator of the original Creepshow, but also the most prolific horror author of all time in Stephen King. So the fact that his story is kind of the lesser than of the 2 stories, when this one's just original material, I thought was kind of interesting, but whatever. But I thought the second story was really cool. So before I get into spoilers, the first one, I don't really know because they're so short. It's very, very difficult. I guess as far as the first one goes, there's a little kid who comes to a convenience store of sorts, a little town market store that's run by Adrienne Barbeau, and Tobin Bell is there as the town sheriff, I want to say, and there's like a storm going on outside, and he's there to buy booze for his old man, which I guess in a small town you can get away with this, but as a kid you can't go pick up booze. But he goes there, and he is very frightened to return home. So the cop and Gus from Breaking Bad is like, buddy or something, go to investigate. But while they're going to investigate, the kid divulges a story to Adrienne Barbeau that shows that they may be in danger. And then the second one is about a little girl who owns a dollhouse, and she has an unexpected visitor inside her dollhouse, and it has run amok in her doll's lives. That sounds lame, but it isn't. It's really cool, really unique, and I thought it was a very cool episode, albeit being short. I would have liked to see a little more of it. I would have liked to see it get a little more macabre or dark. It doesn't, but I did still really enjoy that segment. And I thought the creature work in the first episode was fantastic. So each one has stuff going for it, and I absolutely recommend it. So moving into spoilers. So from here on, spoilers if you have not seen it, but you should definitely go check it out and get Shudder. I guess you could always wait for the whole show to air and then go get Shudder, but if you get Shudder now, I know there's like a free trial for like a week, and you can at least check out Tigers Are Not Afraid, you can check out Terrified, you can check out One Cut of the Dead. You got a lot of options, and there's a lot of cool stuff on there to peek around at. Hey, maybe you can do all of that within a week and then be like, this ain't for me, and cancel it. I don't know. Anyways, as I said, I'm not trying to sell you on it, like, because I'm incentivized to do so. Just, I think it's badass. Anyways, moving on. All right, episode 1. Spoilers from here on out. We got a fluffy crate. So originally, a few days ago, had mentioned that my dream episode of Creepshow, the TV series, would be a prequel in 1834 of an Arctic expedition where the crew happen upon Fluffy, catch him, and at the end of the episode, deliver him to the college in which he is found by the janitor and later by Dexter, and so on and so forth. Thought that was cool. Thought this was a fantastic callback to see Fluffy's crate here in the opening. So I had been sent and tagged in an article from Greg Nicotero, who said that his idea was to do a prequel 1834 Arctic expedition, and pretty much outlining everything I had said would be my dream episode. So that's pretty damn cool that actually went through the creator of the show's mind, kind of put us on the same wavelength. I just thought that was badass, and I think just kind of him getting a little bit of teeny bit of what he wanted here. It does start with a direct callback to possibly the most famous of the segments in the franchise, which is the crate episode with Fluffy. So we get a close-up of that. He pries it open, and inside are Creepshow comics, which are sorely lacking from other installments that never happened. The creep in this, I think, is pretty cool. It kind of harkens back to the original Creeper, or Creeper, whatever you want to call him. I think it's just Creep, but it could be Creeper. I know, sure as shit, it ain't Crypt Keeper. But yeah, so I like the look of him a lot. He looks very much like the original one, and he's more like puppety, animatronic-y, so that's pretty damn cool. I dig him for sure. He doesn't have any speaking lines, much like in the original one. The music in this is pretty cool. The opening animation, for me, I wasn't big on it. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I've made the Creepshow 3 fucking doesn't exist joke enough here so I can get, kind of point out that it actually does exist and it is a piece of shit. But the opening animation in that is 10 times worse than this. So it's not like it's that bad by any means. And it's not bad. I didn't like it all that much. That being said, I did like the music that was attached to it. And then I liked some of the animation of what it possibly hinted at in future episodes, like a werewolf or something. So we'll see what happens with that. And we get other nods to that in the comic books where it shows multiple different monsters. So hopefully we'll see some kind of werewolf episode. All right. And we get comic book panels in here, which is really cool to see. The drawings inside the comics aren't that great. I feel like the budget does bring the show down just a little bit. It doesn't feel like a bad production, but it doesn't feel like a big production either. So the store that Adrienne Barbeau has, I mean, if you could consider that a store, I get that it's during a storm and that provisions are running low, I'm sure, because everyone's run through there. This kind of reminds me of something like Stephen King's Storm of the Century. Everyone's run in, or even The Mist, where everyone's like run in and is gathering up supplies, and then she's just kind of holding up there to give people what they need, and the store is just kind of run thin. But this kid comes in to buy booze for his father, and then there's mold all over the beer. I don't know if that actually has anything to do with the episode, or if she just runs a really piss poor, shitty establishment, and the cop's even looking past it because he's trying to help her with it. So I think that that's probably a health code violation, but seeing as how she sells food and beverage and all, but what do I know? She's selling alcohol to a minor, so she clearly, the cop and her don't seem to really care about the rules. They make their own damn rules on whatever little freaking town this is. And then so the dad drinking problem and him coming into his son's room and telling me he's going to quit is very sad. I mean, I know that this episode isn't playing for that dramatic element too much, but it very much resonated with me of like a parent failing a child and coming in this moment of guilt and desperation and just like kind of confiding in them that like, promising like, oh, like this is what I've been doing wrong and I'm going to change and all that. And of course, ultimately they end up relapsing and letting them down and that kind of stuff. I mean, anybody who's been in any kind of situation like that, it's always going to ring true and touch on those kind of emotional beats. But yeah, I saw that and I was like, oh man, that's brutal. And then to watch his dad literally turn into a monster, which I think is kind of figurative, like, oh, his dad thought he could quit, but then he turns into a monster when he drinks. Kind of reminds me of the Tales from the Hood segment where the kid dad literally turns into a monster at night. So yeah, I do find this to be fairly metaphorical, that the dad just kind of immerses himself so much in the liquor that it takes control of him and turns him into a monster, which is fine. And then he starts to literally turn into this gooey, slimy creature, and the beer, I'm assuming, is tainted. Is this like Willy Wonka's golden ticket, but like, there's one tainted beer out there and it turns you into a monster, and then in order to continue to keep your metamorphosis going, you need more booze? I don't know, but he starts changing. These guys go over to visit and are attacked by this creature. Tobin Bell's character is not eaten as much as he's just absorbed, and then this thing breaks off into it's like mitosis, man. It like splits and just kind of clones itself. I thought that was really cool. I thought it was gonna like bite his head off. I thought it was gonna just rip him apart, but it just like pulled him into himself from what I could see at that angle, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. It absorbs him and then it kind of like duplicates. But then it seems to be self-duplicating from there, so I'm not really sure if it just needed one host, but it didn't, because it killed the Grady twins. Obviously, this is kind of an omission from the original Shining story, that I guess the Grady twins were abducted and killed by this monster in this version of King. But yeah, so it killed they're identical twins. There you go. Identical twins. It took on their ability to double themselves. As I said, mitosis. I have identical twins, so that's why I even know what the fuck that is. Interesting. I didn't even think of that until right now. But yeah, he absorbs twins and then can multiply himself. So I wonder if he wouldn't have done that, if he would have been able to. But then he absorbs. But then he just starts exponentially growing from there. But it didn't seem to happen until he absorbed Tobin Bell. And then just starts multiplying, and then she goes into like her Blair mode from The Thing, and is like going into the numbers and like, you know, total assimilation, population overtake, blah blah blah. Like, this is 6 days. Oh shit, it's faster than even the Thing. I think in The Thing it's like 3 years, you know, like 1,000 days or some shit. So yeah, I don't know why it just started spreading then. I liked that there was I love the look of the monster. The look of the monster, all that stuff, it's what you would expect from Greg Nicotero and crew and him directing it and everything. So it makes sense. And yeah, 6 days. Wow, she was adding that shit up quick. She was just hitting times two, times two, times two, times two the whole time. C. Summer school. You passed and I failed, you dick. I can take it again. I swear, I can fail. All right. Next episode. This one is called The House of the Head, and the story is very unique, very cool. Nobody dies in it. I mean, dolls die, and that's it. So it's weird because this episode shouldn't work. A bunch of people should be like, this is lame, but everyone I've seen talk about this episode, all my friends, all the people whose opinions I actually give a shit about, watch this, and we're like, yeah, the first one was fine, and then the second one was really cool. I liked the story of the second one a lot. And that's just because of the creepy atmosphere of it. It's the performance of little Judith Ray Grimes here. It's the whole setup. It's unique, it's new, it's fresh, you know. It plays out. It plays out unique. It does feel kind of like a Are You Afraid of the Dark episode, but for adults, so to speak. So yeah, she's playing with her dollhouse, and the little head appears in her dollhouse, and she's like, what the hell? Where'd this come from? And then it's almost as if she, like, the dollhouse is haunted by some evil head, and this head decapitates other people to wear itself as their head. I mean, you could fill in whatever story you want for inside the universe of the dollhouse, but it's almost as if that's happening in real time, and anytime she goes and looks at the house, it freeze frames for her, and everything just stays where it is, and this thing's kind of creeping closer and closer, getting closer to the family. And then she goes in and she brings this detective in, and he gets himself decapitated. So then she makes her way to the doll store, where she buys Old Chief Woodenhead. Hell yes. She should have freaking bought Sam Whitemoon, man. He would have blown that thing to Kingdom Come. But yeah, so she buys Old Chief Woodenhead, which I just was like not expecting it. Also, great callback there. It doesn't say it, but it's so clearly him. And she puts him in the house, and he's like protecting the house. He's running around trying to be Mr. Noble, and then he gets himself decapitated as well. And then when she runs away and she comes back, the family has been all decapitated one by one. And then when she finally finds the kid is wearing the head of the doll and turns around. And it's silly, and it shouldn't work. And I'm sure there will be people that are like, yeah, you're right, it didn't work, it was stupid. Those people, of course, exist. But as I said, for the people that I respect and I dig and I agree with, mostly, they're with me on this. It's just, I dug it. Like when it turned around, it was just a little fucking doll. It's a little kid doll, and it has a head on it, and it should be stupid, but I was like, oh, that's eerie. That's some creepy shit. And then the head actually turns around and looks at her. I was just like, oh yeah, hell yeah, this is cool. And then she gets rid of the dollhouse from that point. It's like, Mom, I want to, Mom, Dad, I want to get rid of this thing. And then they just take it, and I guess she kind of passes on. And then she finds the big version of the head under her bed, and I guess that was threatening to kill her whole family, which I would have liked to have seen. I would have liked to have seen a longer version of that for the next, like, I could have watched a feature-length film of this. I could have watched a 45-minute episode at least of this, where now that head is haunting and antagonizing the house. So I think that was a little bit of a missed opportunity. Maybe they didn't want to go so dark. I don't know. But to see her at the end killed with that head, they could have played around with that, made it seem like she didn't, and then it turns around and it is the head on her body, dead, and it's like, oh my god, they killed the kid, that's nuts, and whatever. But you don't have to do that just for shock value. But I just think it would have been a cooler episode if they had done it. As it sits right now, it's cool. I just wish I would have got a little bit more from that. But overall, a good first episode for sure, and I absolutely look forward to the next one, which we will talk about next week when it drops. Let me know what you thought about, if you've seen it. If you have not and you're just watching this all the way through for some reason because you like spoilers and you want to know if it's worth it, go get Shudder, man. It's badass. Adios.